Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Nancy Drew Mobile Mysteries Shadow Ranch. Nancy and her friends are doing placer mining. They're looking for gold, which basically involves going through dirt and moving things around in pans. I did it once. I only did it for about 5 minutes because I got bored. So I found 2 flakes of gold and then I stopped. Then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to spend the rest of my afternoon at the river. But Nancy and her friends have been doing this for an hour. And I think they're going to keep on panning. They're going to keep going because if they do, they get a garnet, which is something I did not find when I was looking for gold. Checking the time, Nancy looks at Bess. Might as well keep at it. The girls resume their efforts. Nancy soon finds a tiny gold pebble amid the black sand in her pan. Why, you got yourself a picker, Paula declares. I call them pickers because you need 2 fingers to pick them up. Hoo-hoo, yeah! Polly is sort of the crazy prospector, in case you can't tell. Bess speaks up. Is there a name for this? She's uncovered a dull red, rough-edged pebble. You found a garnet. That's a nice find. Ain't worth a whole lot, but it'd make a pretty necklace. Okay, let's stop panning. George corks her vial and puts her pan down with a sigh. That's it for me. Smiling with relief, Nancy puts her pan down as well. I was hoping you'd say that. She pockets her vial, then asks Polly, Did you say that pay dirt came from Smokey Peak? That's right. Dirt from there always has gold in it. More washes down from the lost mine every time it rains. Bess perks up. What lost mine? Well, back in the 1880s, when tumbleweed was booming with miners, a prospector named Calvin Moore was rumored to have discovered a huge vein of gold somewhere nearby. He never said where it was. Old Crazy Cal, that's what people called him behind his back. Why, he'd just come into town every so often with a poke full of nuggets, buy supplies, and leave again. Did he ever stake a claim? Nancy asks. Nope, but he always sort of zigzagged his way out of town to make sure nobody followed him. Finally, somebody saw him up on Smokey Peak and asked him point blank if that's where his mine was. Crazy Cal said no, but next morning he left town, never came back. Bess is intrigued. And nobody ever found his mine? No? Bess turns to Nancy excitedly. We should look for it. If anybody can find a lost mine, it's you. She turns back to Polly. Nancy's a detective. Is that right? Well then, seeing as you've been such good customers, I'll let you in on a little clue. The girls lean forward, all ears. Rainbow, Polly whispers. Rainbow? Nancy asks, expecting the woman to go on. That was the name of Crazy Cal's pack burl. Rainbow! It's the key to finding his mine. That's a fact! Okay, well, you can ask him how she knows this or why she doesn't look for the mine. Either way, we're going to say that, we're going to learn that, well, she learned it from word of mouth, and she hasn't looked for the mine because, well, she's been looking her whole life, and she still hasn't found it. How do you know? Nancy asks. An old prospector told me when I was a little girl. Said it's what an even older prospector told him. Said he never found the mine because he didn't start looking for it till late in life. Said I should start young. So I did. Been looking for that mine my whole life. Hearing this, Bess looks grim. And you never found it? That's not very encouraging. Now you guys listen to me, Polly says firmly. The fact that mine ain't been found yet don't mean nothing. Because every time it rains and every time we get a windstorm, that desert out there changes. Old stuff gets washed away and new stuff gets dumped in its place. Rocks get rolled over, marks get uncovered. You just gotta keep your eyes open. We'll remember that, Nancy promises, waving to Polly as they leave the tent. Oh my goodness, is Polly never going to show up again? Oh, thank goodness, my throat is killing me doing Polly's voice. Oh man. Okay, so they wave goodbye to Polly. Oh my gosh, we have got to look for that mine, Bess exclaims excitedly. After all, the name of this chapter is The Lost Mine, so we're gonna find it in this chapter, right? Sure, Nancy says. Okay, the 3 friends make their way to the center of town. Let's start right away, like tonight even. Easy, Bess, George smiles. Are you catching gold fever? Do you think we should ask her about that map? Bess asks Nancy in a whisper. Nancy shakes her head. We're only showing this map to people we know and trust. Excellent! Bess exclaims. Where's the truck? Back at the ranch, the girls discuss their plans to find the lost mine over bowls of homemade strawberry ice cream. Shouldn't we be looking for Dirk's treasure instead of Crazy Cal's? George asks. No way, Bess retorts. Crazy Cal is our best lead right now for gold! And until we can find the second part of the map, we really don't have a choice. Though Bess is still determined to set out immediately, Nancy convinces her it would be best to wait until morning. So after a fitful night's sleep and a hearty breakfast of sausage, fried eggs, and hot cakes, the three girls pack their gear and get a 3-day supply of food and water from Mrs. Thurman and head for the barn. Stony Peak? Tex eyes them suspiciously when they tell him where they're going. What do you want to be camping clear out there for? Nancy shrugs innocently. We just thought it might be fun. Still wary, he addresses George and Bess. You're riding Smokey, and you got Flash. He turns to Nancy. You can take your pick. How come Nancy is the one who gets to choose, and Bess and George don't get to choose at all? I feel bad for Bess and George. I'll go with Bob. Well, at least this time Bess doesn't get Hal. Bess doesn't get the fat horse that always eats. Bess gets a nicer horse. Nancy pats her horse's neck. It nickers softly, and it sniffs her pockets for hidden treats. Oh, now Nancy has the fat horse who's always eating, as she ties her bedroll to the saddle. After assuring Tex they are more than capable of camping overnight on their own, the girls make sure they've got everything, then mount up and head for the desert. Bess looks back at Tex, who shakes his head as he stands at the gate watching them go. Think he knows what we're up to? She asks. Oh yeah, Nancy responds confidently. He didn't try to talk us out of it because he thinks we'll give up before we get halfway there. George snorts. Is he ever in for a surprise? Instead of heading directly for Stony Peak, the girls ride to the outskirts of Tumbleweed. Only then do they turn their horses towards the peak, riding a zigzag path in hopes of chancing upon the trail Crazy Cal took more than a century earlier. But after a half hour or so, Bess asks, What are we looking for again? Mark's Crazy Cal made so he could find his way back to the mine, Nancy answers patiently. How do we know he didn't just memorize his way? Because everything looks pretty much the same out here. If he didn't leave reminders to himself, he'd spend hours just wandering around. Kind of like we are, Bess observes glumly. Not anymore, Nancy says, pulling her horse up. There's the sign we've been looking for! Her friends look in that direction she's pointing, but they're still puzzled. What is the sign? I saw the sign, and I opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. Life is demanding without understanding. I saw the sign, and it's right here on the right. You see the sign. No one's gonna give you up to get into the life where you belong. All the arms on the cactus mean it's very old, and the mark is very high up, which means it was carved a long time ago. And, George points out, it looks like a rainbow. So all we have to do now, Bess realizes, is look for things that have the rainbow mark on them.